Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run the game, spitting with a little bit of soul, no times.
Welcome to Please Remain Calm. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez. As always, the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain podcast. Whoa.
Take two.
The opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services.
All right, you nailed that one.
Almost. Sorry, guys.
You changing your pregame routine.
I was up all night at work, and I had some interesting breakfast. So, yeah, man, what's up?
A lot, actually, dude. It was the big news since our last show.
Yeah, we were actually we were scheduled to come in and record an episode, and then a few events happened in the past few days that we kind of looked at each other and we're like, you know what, we need to do a separate episode talking about these funky things that have been going on.
Pretty much.
In Venice, where I work, but also in the country.
Yeah. As you guys know, Danny and I both have 2 sons each, and they're all in elementary school.
They're all in elementary school.
All in elementary school. Elementary school is wrapping up. They have like their final couple of weeks, and there was a terrible elementary school shooting again in America a couple of days ago.
Uvalde, Texas, Robb Elementary School. Deranged gunman, young man, 18 years old. First killed his grandmother, not killed her, but shot his grandmother in the head at home. And then took his AR-15 and another rifle, and a ballistic
I guess he
vest.
had 2 AR-15s that they said he bought on his 18th birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walked in on the 18th birthday and bought it. Yeah. Legally purchased.
Yeah.
You know,
you can go to Big Five in Texas, show them that you're 18, lay down the cash that you saved, about whatever job for your AR-15s.
But he left. He crashed his car right near the elementary school. But we know that he had the intention of going to the elementary school to do exactly what he did.
Yeah, they said that he DM'd somebody and told them.
Yeah, he had
right
been messaging a girl in Germany, and they have all those messages and had posted them. And knew what he was going to do, said what he was going to do, and went in and did it. And these poor kids in this classroom, 20 children, 2 adults. All in one classroom where the guy barricaded himself, were killed. There were a few survivors, and the stories that they're telling, as they're coming to light are, just absolutely fucking heartbreaking, man.
Totally. And these stories are crazy, like the entire story, and it's the same as any of the other big school shootings, like in the last few years, as far as the response, the timeline. It's wild.
Yeah, almost. There are some big differences in this case that are just now starting to come to light that, God, man, what do you even say about the stories that are coming out about like the police response and stuff like that? And we'll get into all that. I don't know if you guys know, but I work at the fire station in Venice in 63s, and that's the area that we grew up in.
Yes.
When I first transferred into 63s, that was kind of the thing that everybody would like say when I would say, hey, I'm transferring back to Venice. Oh, cool, man. Yeah. I grew up there. I went to Venice High, all this stuff. Yeah. Oh shit. You're not worried about running on people you know?
Right.
And I was worried about that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
especially like earlier on in my career, because I actually got a spot at 63s when I only had like 3 years on the job.
Right? Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I had been at 9s for 3.5 years, and I was just looking for a different place to go. And I put in for Rescue 63, not expecting to get it because it's kind of a spot that you got to have a little bit of time to get a spot like that usually. And for whatever reason, sometimes it's just like the right time where nobody has in for a spot or nobody's looking for a new spot or whatever. Yep. I got this spot at 63s, right? Mm-hmm. 3 years on the job. I'd been a medic for like 4 years. I was worried about it then, running on people I know, because I still wasn't like 100% secure in because I was like a half-time paramedic at 9s. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I got my paramedic license, worked private ambulance for about a year, and then got hired with the fire department. Well, your entire rookie year, you don't do any paramedic shit. Right. And then I was a non-funded rotational firefighter paramedic at 9. So I was only on the rescue, like every third shift or something like that. And then if there was a medic from another station working there on the fire side, they would swap us. You know what I mean? You get a reprieve from the rescue, so you're on the fire side. And I was really learning how to be a fireman at that place.
Right.
So if you really think about it, I made paramedic. I worked in a 911 situation.
This was going to be like your first real RA assignment where you're going to be on the rescue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did paramedic stuff at Nines and stuff like that, right? But like,
not every day.
Even the paramedic stuff at Nines, though, it's like I always tell people that's kind of a shitty place to like be an intern or to like learn how to be a paramedic because it's such a crazy place.
That's true.
And every patient you have is either high or mentally ill. They got some.
You don't get a regular run where you go to somebody's house and treat them.
Yeah. You don't wind up on Skid Row living there because you're a normal person. You know what I mean? So there are so many different like disease processes, different stages of cancer, mental illness, all traumatic events that happened in their past. I mean, every call was just like crazy, right?
Right.
Even like the routine calls, it's like if you can't talk to this guy like a normal human being, it makes that routine
what
call
are you supposed
difficult,
to do?
Right? So it's just a shitty place to learn how to be a normal paramedic. So when I came to 63s, I had it had been 4.5, 5 years since I got my paramedic license, and I had never really been on a steady paramedic rescue, just running medical calls on this person, medical call on this old person, that type of shit.
So there's already the chance that you could run on somebody but then on top of that, you're worried that you might not be a great medic to run on somebody
What if I miss something? What if I fucking make a left when I should? What if I zig when I should have zagged? You know what I mean? And it's my friend's mom.
Exactly.
Like that, so that was worry back then. Now I'm secure in my skills as a medic and all that stuff. I've experienced everything. There's really very little that you can, throw at me that I haven't had some actual hands-on experience with as far as like calls and scenarios and stuff.
Right.
But you worry about that stuff. What I never fucking worried about, man, was responding to Beethoven Elementary and treating my kid who's been shot or anybody else's kid who's been shot.
Which is what happened in Texas.
I have I've seen shot kids. Okay, I've had plenty of dead kids in my 20 years as a medic. And if everybody's seen a shooting. Mm-hmm. If you're in this field, if you're in paramedicine or working EMT,
right.
And for those of you that haven't, it is gruesome. I mean, there's no two ways to put it.
And it's kind of surreal.
You think of the worst horror film you saw growing up, you know what I mean? I've seen scenes like that, real life scenes like that with multiple people dead in a room, at a party that somebody opened up and sprayed the room with. One of the ways that we're able to call somebody in the field through LA County Reference 814, where we're allowed to determine death, is brain matter exposed, lung matter exposed, heart exposed, pulses non-breathing. So it's a horrific thing, a shooting, you're fucking lucky if that bullet goes through your bicep and blasts out your tricep, and shatters that bone and this explodes and there's blood everywhere. You're lucky if that happens, right? That thing catches you on your head. It's gruesome. Mm-hmm. So the thought of responding to a place full of children and seeing that at a massive level, it breaks my heart, man, because
it's unimaginable.
But that's the problem, man, is I'm imagining it. I can see it. You know what I mean? So when something like this happens, man, and listen, I'm not unique in this. I don't think, Bernie, my wife, is a PA at Cedar Sinai. Ben works in the MAC, deals with mass casualty incidents all the time. Anybody who's listening to this at some level is probably, something to do with the EMS system or emergency services. It's extra heartbreaking to think about that stuff and be able to actually visualize it. You know what I mean? Like, I think people watch the news and they go, oh, that's heartbreaking. These kids died. I don't think if you've been exposed to it, you realize just how gruesome this scene, you know what I mean, probably was for the people that were there, the parents that had to go and identify their kids, the first responders that showed up and tried to go in there. And I'm sure once the guy was neutralized, tried to help people and save lives.
So many levels and layers to it. It's really crazy. And the thing is this is a job where you have to be ready for anything and ready to, you expect the unexpected, but there's no way to be ready for this.
It's one of the things I love about the job, man, and hate about the job at the same time.
Because you're still the guy and you still have to be the guy, even in this situation, even if it's your kid's school and you don't know if your kid's getting pulled out of there. Or in the instance of one of the EMTs and paramedics that we read about, he helped his kid's best friend, and that's how he found out that his kid was killed. Yep.
The little girl's talking about how she's crying about how he shot her friend, and he asked her what was her name. And she said his daughter's name. She wound up being one of the victims. Yep. It's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, and he still has to do his job.
And in a scenario like that, right, an MCI, when you pull up and you have multiple patients like that, right, we need to triage these patients. We need to see who is not injured, can get up and walk, who's slightly injured, who can still get up and they're injured but can still get up and walk. Right. You need to see who is not that injured. They can't get up and walk, but they're stable, right? And you can delay their care. And then the people that are immediate, that need your immediate attention, need help, or they're going to die. Mm-hmm. We've already talked about coming on scene and seeing a horrific scene like that, right? That's going to affect you to a certain degree. Having to go up to somebody and check them out and realize that they are not viable. Maybe they're taking their last few breaths, but they're not viable, and you need to just tag them, deceased and move on. That's heartbreaking in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
To have to triage your own abilities of what you can do here, right?
Yes.
And decide who is the most viable, who is going to best benefit from the help that I'm about to give, that I can give.
When we had the Vegas shooting episode, that was a big part of that.
Oh yeah.
But Rob was discussing.
Years ago, there was an elderly driver that drove down a farmer's market in Santa Monica, and took out a bunch of people, and the first on-scene medic of that incident had two parents run up with their 1.5-year-old who had been run over and was obviously deceased. Mm-hmm. And they come running up to the medic with the baby crying and screaming, "Please help, help, help." And he's looking down the street at a whole street of people laid out on the road. This is the first in medic. Yeah. And had to tell these parents, "Ma'am, I'm very sorry. I cannot help you right now. Your baby is gone. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I have to move on." And moved on. Yeah. Winds up going through and triaging, right? Him and his partner helped triage. Another company came up and opened communications, and it turned into a huge MCI. And that rescue wound up having to transport the little kid that passed brother, who was also injured, but the parents came with and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember having a conversation with this guy not too long after it happened, because not even knowing who the guy was, right? But run into Santa Monica guys at the hospital. "Hey man, what was up with that MCI? How was it?" And he tells me this story. Yeah, and you're just like, fuck, man. It's those types of things that at the moment, your adrenaline's kind of running, and it's not people and stuff like that, and you're trying to be professional and remember what your job is and all that stuff. Yes. And you got all these things running through your head. Chaotic. It's really like later after the incident, when you sit down and you think about it, or like that poor guy had, sit there and spend time and had to explain to the parents, like, "I'm so sorry that I had to do that." You know what I mean? Yeah. This is my job. This is what my responsibilities are when I first get there. And you know what I mean? And
and
guilt of
sit
having
there with them and explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the guilt of having to have done that, a period. It's after the incident, it's days after, weeks, months after, when shit like that just like pops in your head for no reason, or you see something on the news that just pops that memory up, you know what I mean? And for me, at least, and for a long time I had a hard time admitting this. It affects me deep when shit like that happens. When something reminds me of something, a real bad kid call I had or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
I'll be sitting there, dude, watching we'll be watching like whatever, like a movie that has nothing to do with nothing, or Encanto or something like that. You know what I mean?
I know.
And something will happen, or someone will say something to someone in the movie, and it's just like, boom, it brings up a certain memory, and my eyes will get watery. I can feel that emotion from that moment,
Mm-hmm. Because you don't really get to do anything with it when it happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of your job. It's part of your job. You have to keep doing your job, and you just kind of like suck it up. I remember a few years ago, like 4th of July, we had a helicopter call. It was a family that was on like driving the San Gabriel Mountains, one of those highways, and they went over the side. And so we get the calls to get everyone ready when they're going to pull people out to know if there's any viable patients. Then we get an ETA to do a hoist operation, So we're waiting, and there was nobody came out of there. And then I was off shift.
Yeah.
And then I went to go look at fireworks, like with another family, and the mom of the house that we were at, she's a peds ophthalmologist. And she knew what I did for a living. She was asking me like how was work, and seeing like I was a little bit out of it.
Yeah.
And so I just told her, because she's the doctor, like she can handle a story like that. And she's just like staring at me like, what do you do with that? And like, no, I came here. Like, like, what do you do?
Yeah, man. And that's why like critical incident stress debriefings are so good. I've told the story in the past about the TV that fell on the kid, and and that triggered me taking some time off. We had a critical incident stress debriefing after that incident, and I've said it 100 times on this show, man. Talking about these types of things, man, helps a lot, especially when you take into account the suicide rates for firefighters, paramedics, police officers.
Yeah. It's a big part of why we do this
divorce
show.
rates. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost a rite of passage to get a divorce if you're a firefighter or a cop. But yeah, it's one of those things, man, that if you keep that shit bottled up, it will rear its ugly head at some point in your life.
Always does. Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's this whole thing about this shooting is heartbreaking, especially now that you start hearing about like the police tactics that happened.
Yes.
And I'm not, you guys that listen to the show know that I am not anti-cop. We are not anti-cop, not anti-gun either. No. Really, you know what I mean? I freaking love shooting guns. Yeah. Me and Bernie go to.
I haven't even gotten into the things that I'm anti. on this show. That might be its own podcast. I don't know.
Me and Bernie go and rent guns, LAX shooting range. And we're actually in the market for buying one for a home protection now. And, it's almost like you need one now,
Well, that's the whole idea with this, though, and why they don't do anything to stop this stuff, because everything drives up gun sales.
Right.
Any mass shooting, any crime wave, any riots, anything drives up gun sales. So that shit is always in the top of the news, because that's basically what all of it comes down to. It's just
money.
People getting money that make
money
guns
and power,
and sell guns. And so for them to be able to sell so many guns, they play, politics better than anybody else, and have like the strongest lobby, buy the most politicians. They have membership in the NRA that like they make that your identity. Like when you join the NRA, they're like, you are an NRA guy now. Come to our conventions. We're going to send you a bunch of emails. We're going to tell you when anything is up for ballot anywhere. Call these senators. Like, they're super, super active.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just them paying, campaign money and shit. They put pressure like crazy. They're like super organized.
And that's what's crazy about the organization too, is like when it originally started, it was like a quality organization that was about gun safety. Yeah. And you know what I mean? It was a family organization and stuff like that. Yeah,
promote shooting events.
It's evolved into this lobbying machine.
Yeah.
Lobbying and propaganda machine.
Yeah. And influence.
major influence
Yeah.
with the money that they pay to politicians and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the GOP or the Republican side, man. It's the
Yeah, it's
Democratic
everyone.
side. It's everybody. Dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like people are saying like, oh, vote blue for it. But it's like, haven't they been in power this whole time? Like they didn't.
Oh yeah.
They didn't pass anything in the last 2 years. There were just as many. There's more shootings than ever now.
Trust me, man. I dislike the Democratic Party almost as much as I dislike the Republican Party. Yeah. But the trend in this country has been more and more guns, easier access. And everyone always points to the Second Amendment. And like I said, man, I'm not. And when I talk about these things, because obviously, the fire department's, a right-leaning organization. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of more right-leaning people on there, on the department. Actually, most of the listeners here probably own guns. You know what I mean? A lot of guys that are into that sort of thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I'm not anti-gun. I'm not anti-cop at all. I enjoy guns. I enjoy shooting guns. You know what I mean? I'm anti any dumb motherfucker that wants one having a gun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like there's nothing you have to do. You can just show up somewhere like buy it like cigarettes.
It just
even cigarettes, they probably check more shit. No.
It blows my mind, man, that we don't trust an 18-year-old to buy beer. We don't think they're responsible enough to buy alcohol, but they're responsible to buy something whose really only purpose is to destroy things.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing, man. It really isn't about anything else except like strong lobbying and money, dude.
Right, exactly.
Just for sales.
And that's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Is this shooting is not something new. Yeah. I mean, it's something that we've gotten so fucking used to in this country that
the refusal to do anything about it.
They're not even all the mass shootings aren't even reported. No. I mean, that's how often it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at graphs of mass shootings, from different countries and everything, and it's just like
it's crazy.
It's they're all here, and the United States is like 100. And these other countries have had 1 or 2 in the past 30 years. 40 years. Mm-hmm. They're doing something differently than we're doing. Yeah. And when you look at the history of these things,
that's it though. We just accept things that aren't accepted in other places.
Exactly.
Because we get kind of brainwashed so things can be sold more.
Not kind of brainwashed. Yeah. Point blank and period brainwashed.
Totally. See, and here's the thing too, is like the mechanism for outrage for this exact same thing exists and it's in our face all the time. Manufactured outrage and like, especially for the party that is so vehemently defending guns.
Yeah.
Hates, abortion, for example.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can get that upset about, a potential baby being aborted or whatever stage it's in, in life, but you will look the other way about kids getting wasted.
Yeah. 20 kids, getting wasted,
which is obviously much more horrific.
Especially when this has been modeled in other countries and it's worked.
Yeah.
Strict gun laws,
But then that's the other argument, dude, is like, well, you can still get one anyway. You can still get a gun anyway. You can't really legislate that away. Oh, but you can legislate everything else away.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're not really slapped in the face by that hypocrisy and bullshit, and you don't get that it's just Planned Parenthood doesn't pay politicians as much as, fucking Smith and Wesson. That's it, dude.
But then that's the other thing too, man. That takes some critical thinking. That takes
exactly, and that's what would really outrage you if you're like, damn, we just let all these kids get wasted all the time just for gun sales, dude.
People don't take 10 steps back and look at the big picture.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. People, you get so locked into obviously your media bubble, but then and I'm guilty of it too, man. Unfollowing people who have different mindsets than you, mm-hmm. who post different things that you don't, agree with or whatever, and following people who are like-minded and stuff like that, and just strengthening that bubble.
Also, just like whether or not you wait to share something or talk about something to make sure that it's real.
Exactly. And that more than anything happens, right? I follow, obviously, dude, I follow people and have friends from all over the spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. And my more right-leaning friends, when they would send me stuff or DM me stuff, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Right?
Yeah.
I always go, well, just give me a minute, and take a day and Google some shit and look at, 3 or 4 different sources and figure out exactly what's going on without that bias, right? And that's one of the arguments that I hear a lot and that I see people posting a lot since this tragedy the other day is, a criminal's going to find a way, right?
Yeah.
It's not the gun. They're going to find a bomb, or they're going to get a knife or whatever, right?
Why repeal Roe v. Wade?
Well,
then?
hold
You know
on.
what I mean? Yeah.
Hold on. You can say that about any law.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the law itself does not stop the criminal from committing that crime, right? You can make that argument about why do we make murder? Why do we make murder illegal?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if somebody wants to kill somebody,
People
they're
still
going
get
to do
murdered.
it. You know what I mean? They're going to do it. So
Yeah.
it's like, what's the point?
And we sanction murder, with the military and stuff too. So
it's the craziest way of thinking to me.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to find a way to do it. Okay, fine. Let's say let's say there were strict gun laws in Texas, and, obviously he was a weird dude. I'm sure he's like done some shit, with his neighbors, or maybe his school teachers or whatever might have said, I don't know, this guy's written some disturbing things or whatever, right?
Yeah.
A red flag.
his
a red flag kind of
dad
law.
said that he had no idea that he bought the guns, that he kept them hidden. He's like, if I knew that, I would have called the police.
Oh, I
myself.
didn't even hear that. Shit, I lost my train of thought now.
It's a lot, dude. But here's another thing though, man. Yeah.
No, keep going.
That's all right. It's not even like guns are the only like really deadly thing. They're like outrageous, and it's a huge difference between our country and other countries.
That's where I was going.
Yeah,
Hold on.
exactly.
Hold on.
Uh-huh.
So this guy decides, and he decided he was going to go and fucking attack this elementary school. He had it in his head already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say he's not able to buy his 2 AR-15s, right?
Yeah.
Which who knows if they had extended magazines or whatever, right? But there's a big difference between running into a classroom full of kids with an AR-14 and being able to, in less than a minute, kill everybody in that room.
Yeah.
And walking in there with even even a handgun.
Yeah.
With 6 bullets in it.
Dude, that was the excuse that the cops made though, was that they didn't want to go in there because he had AR-15s.
Exactly.
And they were afraid of getting shot.
Exactly,
Yeah.
man. Exactly. Yeah. Strict gun laws might not. This guy bought all these guns legally, right?
Yes.
He might, he might be a deranged person who has no history of violence, no, never had any blemish on his record, but his girlfriend broke up with him and he fucking snapped, and he decided he wanted to go buy this gun. And he might, if you have a ban on assault rifles, you can't buy an AR-15. You can't buy an extended magazine. You have to have a,
bump
background
stocks,
check, all that stuff, right?
Dude, yeah.
But you're only allowed to, like I posted, and I've been reading about different countries and what their gun laws and stuff like that, right? Like in Japan, before you even purchase a gun, you have an interview process with the local police department. Yeah. And part of that is, why do you need a gun?
Bro, it's the same thing they're doing if you want an abortion.
Hold on. Why do you need a gun, right? Whatever the fucking reason. I need it for home protection. Cool. You can get a 9mm or 45 caliber. You can have this many bullets in your clip.
Take these classes.
You can have this amount of ammunition maximum at any given time. We're opening this account for you. This is your gun account. This is how we keep track nationally of how much ammunition you have. Everything that has to do with your gun is going to be on this account on your app on your phone, right? Encrypted. But okay, you need it for home protection. Great. This is the size gun you can have. These are how many bullets you can have. This is what you're allowed to have for that thing that you need. Oh, you're a hunter. Oh, perfect. These are the list of rifles that you can have to hunt with. Yeah. This is the amount of ammunition you can have at any given time, blah, 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 right? At least that guy, you know what I mean, who got the gun for home protection, has this gun and only has so many bullets in it. You know what I mean? You're not walking into a place with a gun that can kill the entire room in a minute and a half.
Yeah, you're saying something that makes sense, but to the mind state of somebody who's in the NRA, that's like a lack of freedom. You know what I mean? The government is telling you what you can get, how much you can get. I have the Second Amendment. That's my rights. And the God-given rights, so there you go.
And the Second Amendment, dude, like hiding behind the Second Amendment blows my mind too. I get it. This is a great country. It was started by, men with vision and stuff like that. And, we've developed a system that is better than a lot of systems in the world to a certain degree. But it was still written hundreds of years ago by slave owners that had guns that took a minute to to reload for one shot.
And there was another thing too, man. This is like another like side note. They didn't like shooting people either. If you look the Civil War, they didn't used to shoot at each other. Like there was no the firing rate of like Union versus it was super low. Like they psychologically worked on the army like since the Civil War to get you to be down to kill people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like the whole like the focus on your brain and basic training is to turn you into like from a regular human,
break you down and build you back up
to somebody who shoots people. And the way they do it is by building your brotherhood with the rest of your unit, so you're always protecting them. So even if you don't want to kill somebody, you're gonna kill somebody because you can't let them down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's how it always works. So they've known that since the beginning.
Yeah,
that they don't really want to, but it's still written in there.
Not only that, but like you're talking about, the right to bear arms for a well-regulated militia, right? Yeah. We're talking about colonies and the separate. They needed their militias, right? That was basically their fucking army, right? Yeah. Well regulated. You know what I mean? Like to me, those are like the key words there. When we open everything up to where an 18-year-old kid who's obviously got mental health issues, who probably had identity issues and stuff like that, right? When you open that up to the populace like that, it's not well regulated at all.
No.
When you can go to a gun show and purchase a gun without background checks and stuff like that with these different loopholes at the gun shows, that's not well regulated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Another thing that got me thinking was like, or that I think about often actually, is there's not any one thing that affected this shooting or shootings in general, right? Mass shootings in general.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it harder to get the gun. The crazy guy's going to find a fucking gun.
Yeah.
Right. The goal with gun control is to get, those mass casualty weapons off the streets over, the next 10 years. You ban them, you do a years-long buyback program for the people that, want to get rid of them legally. For the people that are like, fuck you, I'm keeping my guns. Okay, dude, after a year, we're not buying it back. And if you get caught with it, not only are you getting confiscated, but you're getting arrested also and serving jail time because you have an illegal gun, right?
Yeah.
Police raids on different places where they find guns, illegal guns, and they're slowly taken off the street over 10 years, right? Whatever. That's always the argument. What are you going to do? Go in people's homes and take their guns? No, man. You're going to announce, hey, there's a ban on assault rifles. We're going to do a government buyback. Bring your gun here. We're going to give you fair market value for it. Mm-hmm. You allow people to do the right thing because these are the laws that we passed, right?
Yeah.
To protect people.
Yeah. Same thing you're expecting with any other laws you pass.
But I think people... that's always the argument. You're going to go in and take my guns. People aren't going to allow that. You're going to have a fucking civil war on this shit. No, man. Nobody's going to go into your house and take your gun. And you have Beto O'Rourke, am I going to come for your guns? Yes, I'm going to come for you. It's like, fuck. Like, I like Beto for the most part, but that was a dumb fucking thing to say. You know what I mean? Eventually you're going to have to give up your gun, but it's going to be done through different processes over an extended period of time.
Yeah. He just wanted a good clip.
But at the same time, man, there are a lot of factors that get a kid like that or a guy like that to the point where he feels like he wants to kill somebody and end his life. You know what I mean? There's pictures of him, dressed in drag, it's possibly a trans, there's a photo of him with a trans flag and stuff. What's that?
This was saying that's you spreading a false thing. That's not that guy.
That wasn't him. Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, it goes back to like mental health issues, obviously, but things like trans rights, gay rights and stuff like that, race issues, stuff like that. When people grow up and you have these internal things and you have no access to any kind of care to help you with that.
Yeah.
Depression, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Life sucks in general for so many people. And there's nothing they can do about it. So they get pushed and feel that,
But we actively, there are states in the union that actively work to make life harder for those marginalized people, right?
Yeah.
You look at different laws that are being enacted in Texas and Alabama.
But even
like
that's kind of a tangent though. Like it's true.
Right.
A bunch of shooters are just totally not marginalized people at all. It's just life sucks.
That's
and
true.
the thing is like, and there's an irony there to point out, because we spend so much money on policing and budgets and weapons and all the military, and none of that money goes to improving life for people.
Yeah.
Improving the way of life, dropping down inflation, making things easier, offering more public services, the shit that you see in other countries.
I mean, you
know
just
what I mean?
look at the
So-
military budget compared
Yeah.
to other countries' military
So it
budgets.
drives people to the brink. Then somebody snaps, and this is what you need all these police for, and all this like, heavy weaponry, and they don't do shit.
Yeah, it's
until
everything,
way
man.
too
It's all
late.
those issues. It's like economic issues. It's the fact that school is, more expensive than it's
Everything,
ever
dude.
been.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Loans,
And then
student
on
loans.
top of that too, there's a whole, and people don't really want to like address this, but like the same way, like you said, like you saw a picture of him, putting up holding a trans flag or something, right? There's a bunch of websites like that where that started from, that all they do is just try to get people to turn into shooters, dude.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah,
Or just be foul to women, be foul to people, just be terrible. And it just pushes you. And it's a community of people that are just looking for other people to try to turn out.
Yeah. It's
you know
crazy.
what I'm saying?
Man.
And it's just out there, dude. And it's like that. And it's got to be combated by, for kids, it's got to be your parents, your family, your community reaching out and loving you. But that's another thing. The circumstances that everyone's under, that's what parents are under. So it's like you're supposed to watch out and find out, what your kid is trying to hide from you, while you're also trying to pay all the bills, take care of everything, not lose your own job, have retirement, pay for their college. It's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes the parents are snapping.
Yeah.
And that's what the kid's dealing with too, So there's a lot of issues with it, and they could all easily already be fixed. There's just a reason that there's not. Like you say, like, why don't they do something? It's like pretty obvious. Yeah. Because they could have done something this whole time, and they aren't.
The one thing that would, and we're talking about all these factors that, how a shooter becomes a shooter, it gets to that point. But the one thing that we can be assured is that if we had, if it was more difficult to buy a gun across the board, across the country, that's another thing too. You hear people talk about, Chicago is one of the deadliest cities in the country with gun violence, right? And they have, and Illinois has some of the strictest gun laws, Well, yeah, that's Illinois. All the surrounding states have loose gun laws, right? So you go buy a gun in the neighboring state, bring it back into Chicago.
Yeah.
It's just like homelessness. It's something that needs to be addressed on a national level.
Yeah. Because it's circumstances that lead to it. You know what I mean? You can't just expect to plug the end part of the problem. That's where it's already too late.
And yeah, all these other factors need to be addressed too. At some point, it should be being addressed by, our government. Yeah. That's what we pay our taxes for.
Yeah. Same way that gun laws don't work.
Yeah, man. God,
I know it's crazy.
I think it's important to also talk about too, man, about the cops' response. You hear about the reports of them being out in front of the school for 40 minutes, 60 minutes.
They're saying that
minutes.
the school resource officer at first the reports were that he was shot first,
right? That he engaged.
Then it was like that he encountered him.
Then it was that there wasn't even a school resource officer. That's what came out yesterday.
I didn't get that, yeah.
That the whole thing they said about him engaging, shooting at, and being shot was made up.
That's crazy, dude.
So
because the same thing happened with the Parkland shooting in Florida. Their school resource officer hid. He took cover and he waited. When the local police showed up, they did the same thing. They took positions and waited. The cops from the second town over came in, and those were the ones who went in and got him. Yeah. Yeah, and it's the same kind of situation with this. I think they said that it was the Border Patrol that got him.
Yeah. It sounds like the cops got there, the initial cops engaged with the guy and were shot at, and then they backed out and they were waiting for SWAT, or they were waiting for backup, basically.
Yeah, but they waited through the massacre, basically.
Exactly. So
which
this
means
guy,
those parents were out there because they were already gathered out there at a time when something could have been done, and they had to listen to their kids get slaughtered and then scream for help after that. Because that's the thing too, is like the shooting happens, then there's like 40 minutes where they're all laying in there.
Yeah.
So maybe these kids could have been rescued. They could have survived. Who knows if there was any kind of negotiating happening with the guy at that time? Like there was just nothing.
Yeah.
The only activity that we saw, from video of the cops was holding the parents back.
Holding the parents back.
Yeah.
Tackling a dad who tried to hop the fence to go in to get his kid, but standing there with bulletproof vests on and guns in their hands and, holding tasers against these parents who are trying to plead with them to go in and help their children who are being slaughtered. In these jobs that we do, the fire department included, and police also, and I've always said being a cop is a much more dangerous job than being a firefighter. It's very unpredictable, a lot more unpredictable than being a firefighter paramedic. But I'll talk about firefighting. There are times when you are fucking scared.
Yeah.
When you are in a situation, you're about to go into a building that's puffing out just ugly brown fucking square smoke out of the windows, and the building's sealed up tight, and the roof team is having trouble getting access because there's wires everywhere. So there's not going to be relief, from the smoke coming soon. And you're just looking at this thing. You're thinking about the people that that have died in fires in the past, and all this is happening in seconds.
Yeah.
And you're fucking scared. You like actually think like there's 3 or 4 instances in my career that I can remember, like actually right before going in, actually fucking praying and saying, God, and I am not religious, right? I consider myself an atheist. Just God, protect me. And if anything happens, look after Bernie and the boys, and fucking went in, right? It's scary, and there's unknowns, and you might get hurt, and there's a big chance you get hurt, and you're doing something that most people would turn around and run away from. But you got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
You got to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And if there's, 5 or 6 years ago in South Central, damn it, I wish I could remember his name. Kid from 33s. He was on the 800 that night, and they responded to a house fire on Florence, and mom had left to go to the store or go somewhere and left these 4 kids in the apartment. Apartment caught fire.
Yeah.
And 800 shows up, and they're first on scene. They give the size up. There's reports of kids in the house. He hopped through a back window, found the kids, handed them out the back window to his partner one by one, and jumped back out the window right as the entire place went up.
Yeah.
Fucking hero, man.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most amazing. I think I was at 57s at when this happened. So this must have been a while ago.
I thought that was the dude that worked with you
10 years ago. No. It's a guy at 33s.
Okay.
That's hero shit, man.
Yeah.
That's knowing that there are kids in there who are scared and helpless, and that you have a chance of helping them.
Yeah.
And saying, fuck it, and grabbing your nuts and jumping through the window and doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
No help, no water, nothing.
That's what we needed these cops to do.
And they drill for this all the time. That's why they get that funding. That's why they get all that equipment, those bitching guns and everything.
But Ben, drilling only takes you so far, dude.
Yeah.
There are certain situations where you get there and you either have the nutsack to do it or you don't.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people that don't, man.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people don't. It's one of the reasons why we jump for our job at the end of the drill tower.
Yeah.
Right? From the no shit.
Crazy.
In February.
Mark is saying they had a shooter drill in February at that school. That's what I mean, though. But the point I was making, though, is
but
like,
hold on. There is a difference between drilling and doing, right?
Yes.
It's the reason why I don't work for a USAR company.
Yeah.
Okay. In my third house, I went to 85s. I just so happened they were going USAR, and we got to go to all the USAR classes. Okay. Came to confined space.
Fuck
all right.
that shit.
I learned that I have a real hard time with confined space. The first time we went for training, I had a full panic episode, right?
Yeah.
Trying to crawl through some place. You got your mask on. You got this little, pony tank there that you can turn on if you get. But something about getting stuck to a point where my mask is here and I can't reach or touch anything. And I know if my air goes out, panic, right?
Yeah.
I just know I can't do it. All right. I'm not going to do USAR because I don't want to be in a situation where they need me to do this job and I can't fucking do it.
Yeah.
You need to, if you're going to get into this job, number one, be honest with yourself.
Yes.
If you get to a point or a scenario where you feel like there's no way on earth that I can do this thing that I might be required to do in this job, don't do the fucking job. Find something else to do. Find another career. Because when push comes to shove and you're in that situation where it's life and death, you got to fucking do your job, man. These people, the public that pay us to protect them, expect us to lay our ass out and do our job to save their child or their parent or their brother or whatever, or them. Yeah. They expect us to do that, man. You should expect that of yourself as well.
Absolutely.
You know, you need to be honest with yourself and realize what your limitations are.
Yes.
You know?
See, that's the point I was making with them drilling is these kids are going through the drills too. The kids are doing the active shooter drills too. And they have no idea that, okay, I can do all this stuff. Because at the end of the drill, the cops come in, neutralize, rescue them, take them, take care of them. They have no idea that, oh, there's also a 50-50 shot that that's going to happen.
That's the most heartbreaking thing about the whole thing, man. Is like, these kids haven't even been exposed to death, shooting,
right,
blood. They probably aren't allowed to watch movies that have that sort of stuff in them. They're still watching cartoons and watching, YouTubers play their favorite video games and stuff. They probably don't even have access to the types of video games that have that type of shooting and blood and gore and stuff. So on top of this horrific thing happening just in general, to think about these kids experiencing this for the first time, and their first experience is their best friend sitting next to them, having this happen right in their face.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's fucking heartbreaking, man.
Yeah. Insane, man. I think we should save the other subject for another episode.
Yeah.
We do that one in a couple of weeks because this one wound up taking up the entire show.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a good place to
good place to stop. Good place to stop. Danny, where can they follow you?
Before we do that, I just want to say clearly that and I think I speak for anybody that's in this field, man. When I heard the news about and started reading about exactly what happened at that shooting, man, I fucking cried. Just like I said, we have kids in elementary school and I worry about them all the time in this world that we live in now. One place that I'd never really thought that I would have to worry about them was in their school. And thank God Beethoven has those big, metal gates, and it's really kind of difficult to get into that school now, But to have to sit down and have a talk with my boys about what to do if somebody walks into their classroom with a machine gun and starts killing their friends, to me, this entire fucking system is broken, man.
Oh yeah.
To have those conversations with our children in a country that's this advanced, that has these types of the types of resources that we have, that has the money that we have, without getting into it, for the most part, a moral compass that we have.
Yeah.
To have that conversation with my boys, to me, is completely unacceptable as a parent, as a citizen of this country.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to change. There are a lot of things that have to change.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's gotten so out of control that you need to go through with a bulldozer and look at everything that we have and reimagine everything. You know what I mean?
Oh,
which seems
100%.
like a daunting task, but it's like something that has to fucking happen.
Yeah. But the thing is like, guns are the easiest one out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not talking about like alcohol,
The
cars,
easiest
things like that.
one.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
easiest one that if you are a responsible gun owner,
Mhm.
common sense gun laws shouldn't affect you or anger
Yeah.
you or upset you at all.
Yeah.
At
See,
all.
And that's the like dichotomy here, is because you are, saying take a bulldozer to it, change everything, but also you want to buy a gun.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And
Yeah.
that's my point exactly.
Yeah.
If you're able to have this killing machine, whether it's a deer or a fucking elk or a human,
Mm-hmm.
it's a killing machine. That's what it's for, man.
Yeah.
Well, there's target shooting and we kill feral pigs. Okay. It's designed to shoot things and destroy things. If you're responsible enough to have that, you will pass these requirements to be able to get it. And if you're not, you shouldn't fucking have a killing machine.
Right.
You shouldn't have it. We live in a day and age where talking about this shit on a podcast ain't enough. You know what I mean? Like, you have to get involved with who we're putting in office and stuff like that. If you're not, just pay attention to that type of stuff. It's important. There are guys at my station that don't vote. You know what I mean? Like, these past 2 elections to me are like the 2 of the most consequential elections since I've been alive. They just don't vote, right? Blew my mind.
But again, dude, like, we voted. The people are in office right now.
Right.
thing.
But I'm saying, I mean, our voter turnout in this country is like, it's pathetic, dude.
Yeah.
If you don't vote, you should at least familiarize yourself enough with the issues that are important to you so that you know who you should put in office to support the way you look at things, right? One way or the other. It doesn't even fucking matter, man. But there are a lot of people who are just, turn a blind eye to all this stuff that's happening and don't get involved. I think now is a time where everybody needs to get involved, especially if you're looking at the world in the country like I do and see these terrible things happening and think that there needs to be some massive change. The right is really good at organizing and driving their side to get out and vote for these shitty ass people that they're putting up on ballots. Others, left leaning and independents and stuff like that need to get better at doing the same thing and stop being little bitches about shit.
I agree with the stop being little bitches thing. I think that, they won the elections. You know what I mean? So that, I don't think the issue is so much that they're not getting people out to vote. It's
but
the people are elected. They don't really do anything because the system's already set up the way it is. They have to take the money that they take.
But that's kind of my
kind of juice against them.
But that's kind of my point, is that people look at whoever the Democratic Party or whatever puts forward as, hey, this is who you should vote for, without actually looking at. Joe Biden's a perfect example of that. Yeah. To me, Joe Biden was the worst choice that we had on the Democratic side, right? But they pulled all the strings and presented him as the only choice, right? And pumped up all the things that they saw as good about him, and never, and if people don't look into his past and his voting record to see the shitty way that he's voted in the past, you just go, oh shit, this is who we're supposed to vote for. All right, let's go. He's blue. Let's go.
I know, dude, but that's the thing though. So then you don't want to vote for him. You don't want to vote for the other guy. So you don't vote. So then it's like, oh, you didn't vote. You know what I'm saying? So it's not always like that easy. I agree something has to be done. That is what everyone tells you to do. But I think a big thing too that gets overlooked is like a big thing you can really do to help something in this situation. And it might not have stopped this shooting in particular, but it could stop another one. Is just you being a good person, talking to your neighbors, being a part of your community, and just helping to be there for other people and set an example for other people to do the same thing. That's an easy thing that you can control, where you can't blame somebody else for them not doing anything. It's up to each of us. And that's the point, preachy moment that I want to end this show on.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Where can they follow you, Senor?
You guys can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
You can follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor, on Instagram and Twitter. Follow our show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or at PRC Podcast on TikTok. Thank you to all the new TikTok fans and followers blowing up our videos. We appreciate it. You can also email us, contact prcpod@gmail.com if you have questions. You want to buy any of this sweet merch. Danny's rocking the new PRC shirt right now. They are flying off the shelves at our Shopify.com, which is
PRCpodcast.myshopify.com.
Oh yeah, and more merch is coming, you guys. Thank you guys very much.
We'll see you.